It's time for an arms embargo, and it's time for businesses to cut ties with Israel. The very fact of engaging in something that concerns and translates into economic gain and profits, it's problematic, lest the companies and their executives are ready to face responsibility and even criminal liability.
The United Nations helped lay the groundwork for the modern state of Israel. Fast forward 75 years, and the same organization is now bankrolling a terror group that wants to wipe Israel off the map. That's not hyperbole. It's happening, and your tax dollars are involved. Now, you've likely heard of the Houthis, the Iranian-backed militia operating out of Yemen. Over the last several months, they've hijacked commercial vessels, launched drones and missiles at civilian ships, and claimed responsibility for deadly attacks across the Dead Sea. So at this point, the Houthis are more than a regional nuisance. They become one of the most disruptive forces in global maritime commerce. What's less known is how they're getting away with it and how the United Nations is helping them do it. In 2023, the UN Development Program, or UNDP, purchased a massive oil tanker for $55 million. The goal was to prevent an environmental disaster. There was a rusting vessel that the Houthis had called the FSO Safer, of all things, anchored off Yemen's coast. It was holding over 1 million barrels of oil and was in danger of breaking apart. Now, that would have dumped crude into the Red Sea and triggered a humanitarian and ecological catastrophe. So the UN bought a replacement vessel, the Nautica, they called it. It was a very large crude carrier, and they completed a high-profile offloading operation in partnership with donor nations and NGOs, and of course, the media was there. So crisis averted, right? Or so we thought. After the transfer was complete, the new vessel, named the Yemen, was seized by the Houthis. Big surprise there. And here's the part that defies belief. Instead of cutting off funding or demanding the ship back, the UNDP kept paying the bills. And they're still paying $450,000 a month for crew salaries and ship maintenance and ongoing operations. That's $5.4 million a year. And while the ship's under control of a terrorist group designated by the US State Department, now the Houthis are parasites, no question. They feed off international aid, they hijack infrastructure and use it to launch attacks. Now, speaking of parasites, today's sponsor is the Wellness Company, and they've got something you should know about. Most people don't realize how common parasitic infections can be. Now, pork is one of the worst offenders. It carries everything from trichinosis to tapeworms. The CDC and the World Health Organization agree on it. It's a serious global health risk. But it's not just pork. Sushi, pets, even international travel, like I do, are all common sources of exposure. And that's why the Wellness Company developed their ivermectin plus mebendazole parasite cleanse. It's a 4-dose medical-grade detox designed to eliminate parasites and support your gut and immune health. So you just fill out a quick intake form and it ships right to your door. Go to twc.health/hotzone and use code HOTZONE to save $60 and get free shipping. All right, back to the story. The Yemen is not just sitting idle. Reports from Lloyd's List and the Times of London are confirming it's now a fully operational asset for the Houthis. Radar systems have been installed in it. Satellite tracking shows it's conducting ship-to-ship transfers of crude oil near the port in Ras Issa. Transfers like that might involve sanctioned Russian crude. This vessel, originally purchased to prevent a humanitarian disaster, is now enabling illegal oil sales. And it's helping rogue states evade sanctions and supporting maritime terror operations. Take the case of the Eternity Sea, which is a Greek-owned cargo ship that was attacked just earlier this month. Houthi drones and missiles struck the vessel. Then the terrorists boarded the ship and placed explosive charges and sent it to the bottom. 4 crew members are killed that we know of. 15 others, most likely Filipino nationals, are missing. The Associated Press reported that the search has been called off now, and that usually means they're presumed dead or even worse, they've been captured. And it's highly likely that the surveillance for that attack was coordinated from the Yemen. Let that sink in. No pun intended. A UN-purchased ship, now under terrorist control, outfitted with radar, used to surveil commercial shipping, launch attacks, probably take hostages, and still funded with checks from New York. And that's not speculation. It's confirmed by maritime tracking and satellite imagery and multiple independent watchdog groups. But this isn't just one ship. It's part of a much larger pattern. Iran's fingerprints are all over it. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, specifically the Quds Force, has trained and armed and supplied the Houthis for years. They provided drones, the missiles, the tactics, and now the Yemen, the Houthis have, with that, they have a mobile launch platform anchored in one of the world's most important shipping lanes. Then there's Russia. The Yemen's become a hub for ship-to-ship transfers of Russian crude. It's an old trick to skirt sanctions. No port entry means no paper trail. Just one ghost ship pumping oil into another under the cover of darkness. It's classic sanctions evasion, and the Houthis are getting a cut. And guess who's buying all that oil? China. Watchdogs have traced cryptocurrency flows, especially in stable coins like Tether, from Chinese buyers to wallets linked to the Houthi and Iranian networks. Now, these aren't rumors. In April 2025, the US Treasury sanctioned 8 wallets tied to Iranian financier named Saeed al-Jamal. That network moved over 330 million in crypto between late 2023 and early 2024. That's more than 178 million that was traced to UAV procurement, oil logistics, and operations linked directly to Yemen. So to sum up, Iran trains and arms the Houthis. Russia sells oil through their new floating platform. China pays in crypto, and the UN pays to keep it all running. Meanwhile, the strait leading to the Red Sea, where this is all taking place, is being choked off. This narrow choke point handles about 12% of global trade, and that's nearly a third of the world's container traffic as well. Since the beginning of the war, that traffic has dropped off by 70 to 75%. Thousands of cargo ships are rerouting around the Cape of Good Hope. That adds 10 to 20 days to transit times. Fuel costs skyrocket. Insurance premiums jump like 400%. Rerouting alone can add $1 million to a single voyage. The economic impact is staggering. Container shipping rates are up over 60%. Retail and supply chain delays are feeling the strain worldwide, and the IMF says this disruption could raise inflation across the globe. So that's just what we need. Now, who's bankrolling all this? Well, you are, of course. The UNDP operates on a $6.7 billion annual budget. It funds everything from climate programs to gender equality workshops and sustainable farming grants. But it also, right now, is funding a ship that's enabling piracy and terrorism. And guess who pays more than anybody else into that budget? The United States. According to the Council on Foreign Relations, the U.S. provides nearly 27% of all UN funding. That's close to $13 billion in 2023 alone. $3.1 billion in assessed contributions, $3.5 billion for peacekeeping operations, $6 to $8 billion in voluntary contributions to agencies like UNDP, UNICEF, and the World Food Program. That's more than the next 3 donor countries combined. So yeah, American taxpayers are funding this, not just through the general UN support, but directly through the very program that maintains the Yemen. Now, this isn't a fluke. It's not a bureaucratic oversight. This is systemic. I mean, look at all the other programs that have been giant failures or worse. UNRWA has been caught red-handed employing Hamas operatives, using schools to store weapons and teaching anti-Semitic propaganda to children across Gaza. UNDOF, The UN Disengagement Observer Force has repeatedly failed to prevent Iranian weapon smuggling through Syria and stood by as Hezbollah enriched itself in the Golan Heights. UNIFIL, tasked with keeping southern Lebanon demilitarized, has turned a blind eye to Hezbollah's massive stockpile of rockets aimed at Israel. And the International Organization for Migration is actively facilitating mass illegal migration into the United States by providing logistical support to the migrants. They provide transportation and cash stipends to people moving north through Central America, many of whom are coached on how to game the asylum system once they reach the border. And this is what happens when international institutions grow too large and get too unaccountable. The UN's no longer a neutral humanitarian actor. It's underwriting terror, and yet no consequences. No investigation, no public hearings, no effort to claw back funds or seize the vessel, just business as usual. So where does that leave us? Well, this isn't incompetence, it's complicity. And if you're tired of watching the institutions we fund serve our enemies, well, you're not alone. So if you want to see more reporting like this that follows the money and holds these global players accountable, go to chuckholton.com, subscribe and share it. And if you're able, become a supporter. That's how we keep this work going. I've got more updates coming to you soon, so make sure you like and subscribe and stay tuned. God bless everybody. We'll see you later.